I'm Jeremy Hobson. This is the follow-up from The Middle, bringing more of your voices into the conversation each week. And today we are following up on our conversation about social media addiction and what all that time spent scrolling is doing to us, to our attention spans, to our relationships, to our brains. And joining me now, one of my favorite journalists, one of my favorite people to talk to, somebody who has been following and covering trends on social media for years, Femi Oke, who runs Moderate the Panel. Femi, it's so great to see you.
So good to see you too, Jeremy Hobson, one of my favorite journalists too.
Oh, okay. Well, you and I have talked so many times about things that are trending on social media, but did you think over the course of time, or when did it occur to you that actually this could be like, how we feel about smoking or alcohol, or that it's a problem that people are spending so much time on social media?
Such good analogies. It all started out as fun. Back in 2011, I worked on a show called The Stream, which was so novel. We were using Google Hangouts, the beta version, because Google said, hey, try this out on TV. We invented Skype, a version of Skype, so we could bring people online. And we were debating, is it ethical to use tweets, because they were tweets at the time, as journalism? So all of these debates were happening. There were no firewalls. Everybody was giving away their content for free. It wasn't even called content. It was just, did you read the New York Times today? No firewall. So it was fun. It was exciting. And then bit by bit, we realized that there are some regulations that are required. So in the early days, it was just a playground of fun tech. Little videos you could make. Nobody was that expert at them. People who were expert, they weren't even influencers. They just became star people on YouTube or stars on Facebook. And so there was just a lot of joy. There was a little bit of cynicism and meanness and a little bit of, there's still the dark web around, but no sense that what we were doing was dangerous or potentially harmful in any way. And I feel like that mirrors cigarettes, it mirrors drinking and driving, it mirrors so much of what we've learned and become more sophisticated about over the years. But at the time, it was fun, it was exciting, it was fresh. I had no idea that at some point, let's use a real case, a young lady who grew up using social media became so addicted that the technology companies paid her $6 million as compensation.
Earlier this year, right?
That's where we are right now.
Well, and how do you feel about your own use? Because I feel like I look at other people sometimes. I'm like, I cannot believe how much you are checking your phone. Like, just be present. But also, I'm guilty of it too sometimes. I think maybe in public I'm better about it, but at home, when I'm like, I'm stressed out about this, I'm just going to go into a little rabbit hole on my phone right now and just get to focus on something else. Right.
It's a little treat, right? It's just like, oh, who's my favorite? I'm on Instagram a lot because I moved from X to Instagram. So I used to spend a lot of time on X, formerly known as Twitter. Now I spend much more time on Instagram. And you have your favorite people that you love to follow, checking in on your friends. And it's a treat. It's a treat. It's a little bit of fun. You hang out. But the way our social media apps are designed, they're designed not for us to dip in and dip out, but to keep us there. And we're becoming more aware of that. So the fact that we can scroll, that's one method of keeping us there. It doesn't have to scroll, but it scrolls. The fact that we can loop back and watch the same video over and over again is another way of keeping us there. The fact that, we've suggested this for you because you like this other video and you stayed on it for 3 minutes. So we're going to give you more of what you apparently seem to like. So it feeds into our desires in a very purposeful way. It is engineered. Our social media apps are engineered to keep us on the apps. We need to know that because then we can make better decisions about when we're going to dip in and when we're going to dip out.
Well, and in fact, our guest on the longer broadcast on The Middle, Dino Ambrosi, who goes in and speaks with people about changing their tech habits, said that autoplay is actually a real problem. The fact that some of these platforms, you finish one video and then it immediately goes into another one. And if you got rid of that, that it actually would make a difference for people.
Absolutely. It slides in there. So I feel myself doing, oh, let me just look and see what this is about. Don't like that, scroll up. And then about 3 or 4 videos later, you're on something that you like. And then you're going deeper because you're going to go deeper into that user, see their other content, look at their other content. And then before you know it, if you're not using social media intentionally, you have spent an hour. Now, it's not to say it's not a good hour, but as long as you decided that was your
Right.
plan. If it wasn't a plan, then you've wasted an hour, and we need to be more aware of that.
Femi, we are catching you in the United States just before you are about to head overseas to be in Europe, to be in Africa. You travel a lot. Do you find that social media use is different in other countries than it is here, or are the issues the same around the world?
Different countries and different regions enjoy different social media apps. So there's some parts of the world where everybody wants to WhatsApp and the jokes are all on WhatsApp, and there are WhatsApp channels of jokes and communications, and in a way that I do not use WhatsApp when I'm in the United States. There are other places where Instagram is a big deal, and also Facebook. Facebook is the frontier for, let me be controversial here, digital colonialization. It's the entry, if we're going to talk about social media as an addiction, it's the entry drug for people to the digital world that's often offered for free in countries that may not have a developed social media or developed digital technology environment. And that basic Facebook option is offered for free. You can check in on your friends, you can see some videos, and that platform is offered for free. And then they build and build and build and build and build. And then before you know it, you've got a public that is hooked on your particular part of tech and that particular app. And that's a design. That's a design to bring in not more users into the digital world. And Facebook does that really well, and sometimes has a bigger GDP than countries have that it goes into.
Wow. Let's listen to some of the voicemails that came in from our listeners. Listen to what this caller had to say.
Hi, this is Janet. I'm calling from northern New York State. The addiction is partially physical. It's holding something, touching something, always looking at the screen instead of the world before you, which is dangerous. So it's not just a psychological thing. You could be looking at beautiful pictures all day long of flowers and kitties and things like that. But it's similar to smoking or drinking. It has to do with your hand touching something that it wants all the time.
I think she is totally right. I mean, I think about the times that I've tried to have less alcohol in my life. And it's like, there is something about just holding that drink in your hand that is like a comfort. So it is the same with the phone.
And also I feel it fills a void of being bored or nothingness. And often I will see people on public transport, and they may have, in the olden days, they may have read a paper, or they may have had a little book, a book that you take and travel with you. And now they have their phone. And the phone fills in that void of what am I going to do between A and Z? And that A to Z is your phone. What am I going to do while I'm waiting in line to pick up my prescription? That used to be that little paperback book that you would have in your bag.
Right.
But now it's your phone. Your phone is a whole entertainment system. So I think it also fills a void. And one of the trends that I've seen on social media is in the 1970s, if you were around at that time, we were okay about doing nothing, going out to play, creating your own game or activity, because there wasn't always something to do. I grew up in the UK, so there were times where TV stations didn't come on until maybe 6 o'clock in the evening.
Right.
You couldn't even just binge watch TV because some TV channels didn't come on. And then they would stop at midnight, play the national anthem, and then they would just have teletext on the TV. Sometimes it would just be blank, or sometimes it would be colored bars.
Right.
This is history. Younger
This is
listeners.
when you had to go outside and actually
You had to
do
go
something,
out and
get
do
into
something,
trouble.
or read a book,
Right.
or talk to people. And so I do think the phone, our phones, our digital devices have filled a gap where it hasn't given us a moment to just allow ourselves to be and to allow ourselves to communicate. Maybe we would have struck up a conversation on the bus if we weren't on our phones. It's also quite a nice barrier. I know sometimes if I don't want to talk I'm very sociable. I talk to everybody, Jeremy. But if I don't want to talk to somebody, like I have my earpods in and I'm not looking at them and I'm looking at my phone, and then I don't have to engage. It's a barrier to engaging with our world. I think that we will realize that we're cutting ourselves off and there's going to be pushback, and we're going to think back to the olden days and think, oh, it'd be really nice, the same way we do clean food. It'd be really nice if we could actually strip away some of this from our lives and just have a simpler life so that we can talk to people and engage with people. No phones at dinner time, no phones at a restaurant. It's beginning to happen slowly, and I think there's going to be a bigger pushback for that.
And this was one of the most uplifting parts of our conversation on The Middle with Dino Ambrosi, is him confirming something that a teacher has told me, which is that Generation Alpha, the younger than Generation Z generation, is actually rebelling against phone use, and they recognize that we all have a problem and they don't want to be part of that anymore. So hopefully more outside time for them. Let's listen to another caller.
Hey, Jeremy, this is Patrick, and I am calling from North Carolina. In regards to social media addiction, when especially young people don't feel like they can trust a media institution, they're going to go to something that they feel like is at least representing their views or represents how they see the world. That ends up being a spiral into what we have now, where every young person certainly is relegated to their own conflict because they can't believe or don't feel like they can believe anything that comes through in the broader media environment.
Femi, you mentioned the use of social media, looking at tweets as a journalist in the past. How important do you think it is now in the world of media?
It's still an important place where, strangely enough, Jeremy, often news is broken. I will sometimes see news being broken on social media before I see it on traditional or legacy media. So I still think, but I think that's more the fact that journalists hang out a lot on social media hoping to find a decent story.
And that the president of the United States likes to break news on social media, including firing people. Right.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of news that comes through social media, whether we like it or not. So it is still an important medium as far as that is concerned. But I'm hoping, and I was hoping this for a very long time, that we would learn and understand how to educate ourselves about what is curated, what is a good source, what is a bad source, what we should believe and what we should question. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we tumbled into this area of so much knowledge. Everybody is their own gatekeeper. You create your own bubble. You almost create your own network of information.
Right.
But younger people, and I hope they are doing this, and I hope there is some digital education. You need to be rigorous in the same way that a journalist is rigorous, looking at the sources. Where did this come from? Who wrote this? Check the URL. Is it a real one? Why does it link back to Ukraine or Albania? It's supposed to be somebody who's talking about US politics. We have to do extra work and extra heavy lifting, and that's the downside of our digital age, is that I'm not saying don't believe everything you see, but you have to know and trust your sources and check them, every single person.
It's one of the reasons why I'm so happy that this show, The Middle, is in some ways old school, in the sense that it's a call-in show. There's no algorithm involved in deciding who makes it onto the air. This is human being driven, and we are able to reach and hear from so many people, which, by the way, gives me a perfect opportunity to segue into telling our audience right now that if you like the show, please subscribe to us on listentothemiddle.substack.com. We're going to be right back with more of Femi Oke. That was good, right?
That was very smooth.
Nice
AI could not have done that better.
Okay, we'll be right back with Femi Oke on The Follow-Up. Welcome back to The Follow-Up. I'm Jeremy Hobson. I'm joined by journalist and broadcaster Femi Oke. Femi, do you think it is time to stop calling it social media, since it is often antisocial?
Or just media.
Right.
It's our go-to, or it works alongside other kinds of media. And as traditional and legacy media is beginning to die off, then it is just media. And the social bit is just a way to have tagged it so it had a little bit of difference between how we got our news 10, 15 years ago and how we get our news now. But you're right, it can be very antisocial. Head down, watching a screen, earbuds in. I hear your point, Jeremy, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a pushback.
Please.
Because there are beautiful things. We've been concentrating on the health concerns, the behavioral concerns of what happens when we get sucked into our screens. But there are still some beautiful things that happen. I have friends I have never met who are on social media around the world.
But you consider them your friends?
I consider them my friends.
Yeah.
Genuinely friends. And I have met them in real life, and we talk as if we've known each other for years, and we have. We've just known each other for years on a very different medium. And it's like we have 5 years or 10 years of history because we've communicated in that way. I have seen fun ways of getting community together to raise money, to make somebody's day brighter, to inform the public about what is not necessarily happening. And I will use this phrase, but I'm not sure it's even relevant anymore, but mainstream news. So traditional news may not be covering some really important angles of the news that you may know because of where your forefathers may have come from. It might be international, it might be deeply local, and you have access and know people who can get that information to you. That is really important. There's a way that connects us on social media networks that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It can also, if you overuse it, isolate you. So there are two things that can happen both at the same time. And when we're talking about addiction, there are some people who are truly addicted so that it impacts your life, so that you will go to bed scrolling, wake up scrolling, look at your phone the whole time. That is a problem because it's impacting your life in a negative way. Sometimes it's just a bad habit. Picking up your phone when you're cooking, that's just a bad habit. Using your phone at dinner time, that's a bad habit. But it's part of our everyday life. So maybe we just need to regulate how we do things as opposed to saying, this is an addiction, because it's not for everybody.
I pick up my phone when I'm cooking all the time because I do things like grilling 1-inch tuna steak. How do you do it? And it's like 2 minutes on each side, high heat, take it off, let it rest. It works every time. People are like, wow, you really cooked that well. Let's listen to another caller. Here it is.
Hey, I'm Giovanna. I'm calling from Los Angeles. I am a millennial. I had a baby a year and a half ago, and I'm trying really hard to stay off of my phone. I have been deleting Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and I, multiple times a week, will have to re-download at least Instagram and Facebook to participate in my in-person social activities. So there's a group chat happening on Instagram that's making plans, or I'm trying to buy secondhand furniture on Facebook Marketplace. It was hard to get off the apps, and then it's hard to stay off because so much of life happens on them.
An interesting point. There's a lot that's on social media now that has much more to do with just living your life than communicating with people. There's a lot of information that gets put onto social media these days.
I checked Pew Research to see how many Americans were on social media. Approximately 310 million Americans use some form of social media, so YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, the whole gamut of social media. Facebook, YouTube and Facebook are two of the top social media platforms. And so that's 90% of Americans. So we are using these platforms to communicate, and that is okay. It's when you're noticing that you can't not look at your phone, or you can't put your phone away when you're having dinner, or you're looking at it in the middle of the night, then that's something that you have to say, okay, let me be more mindful about how I'm using it. It's a bit like saying, I'm going to go through the world and not, let me just rewind ourselves back 25 years ago. I'm not going to use the telephone to communicate. That would be strange. It would be weird. Why would you do that? That's a little bit odd. So it is a very natural, normal way for us to communicate. But how we do it and how often we do it, that's how we want to be intentional about it.
Well, and that's another reason why the fact that we use the same device for social media that we also might use for work, that we would use just to call people, like it's all in one device. So you can't just say, I'm taking this part of it away. I mean, you can, there are ways to do it, but it's not so simple because it is the same device we're using for everything else.
You're right. It's all in one, but you can do things like notifications you can take off.
Yes.
You can take off email if you don't want to be answering email 24/7. You
Right.
can just go, okay, I'm going to spend 3 hours in the morning. This is not me, by the way, Jeremy. I'm talking about other people because I will answer my email at any time because I have a business. But if you want to say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to have 3 hours in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, I'm going to answer email at that time. I do not need to be notified every time an email drops into my email box.
Absolutely.
So you're not cutting yourself off, but you're being disciplined and protecting your time and your space.
All right, let's get to one last voicemail. Here it is.
Hey, Jeremy and team. My name is Alex. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I'm a therapist, and I work a lot with behavioral addictions. One of the challenges I see as a small business owner is that I am kind of driven to create content on social media to get clients. And there's a bit of a moral injury in that I am advertising or trying to market or create content that's geared towards mental health in an environment that is designed to create addiction. And as a small business owner, I find it really hard to approach marketing or growth or spreading content that can help people in an environment which is really toxic. And it's a dilemma I haven't quite landed on a solution for.
This is why, by the way, I have not once told people during this episode that they should follow us on social media, except for Substack, which is not really. But I mean, it kind of gets to your point, Femi. There are good things about it, but also, you know, you don't want to drive people into addiction and especially listening there to a therapist trying to navigate that.
I like to call this the ethical lens. Can we create content? Can we connect and with our communities through an ethical lens or an ethical microphone? There are ways to do it. But I identify as a small business owner because you want people to know what you do, how you do it, that you do it well. You're creating your community, but you're often told things like, okay, you need a hook within the first 3 seconds so people don't scroll, and then write a lot of text. So it takes your viewers a long time to read the text so they stay on your post for longer. So these are all tricks. These are very basic tricks, strategies to keep your audience watching and looking at your content that the tech companies are doing and doing it to the max. So there is a dilemma there, but social media, our apps can be as useful as they can be harmful, and it's really how we use them. They're our tool. We have to be aware that because we're using them for free often, the payment of that is algorithms suggested you need to look at this video, you need to look at this particular product. All of that is happening, so we have to be aware. The same we are aware now when we're watching advertising, that we are watching advertising, but it doesn't mean that you can't still produce really great, helpful content, communicate with your viewers and your listeners in a helpful, impactful, ethical way. I will die on that hill.
All right. Well, before you die on that hill, you get to make a prediction, Femi, about anything. What is it?
We are at a very strange moment right now with social media and social media companies in that they are being challenged, a little bit like cigarette companies were being challenged, and cigarette companies saying, no, we're very healthy. In fact, smoking is good for your health, or we have no evidence. And I believe bit by bit, the social media companies are settling out of court, so we don't know what's happening. But now there are more and more court cases that are becoming public, and we will get a better sense of what social media potentially can do to us if we're not aware of it. So my prediction is that in years from now, we will view social media the way that we view drinking. Every now and again, we have a little bit of a binge.
In moderation. Right. But that's it.
But a little bit in moderation, because we know if we go too deep down that rabbit hole,
Right.
it's not healthy for us. So as before, people were like, drinking's great, no problem. I think there will be an awareness with social media that it can be bad for our health, and we just need a little bit, or be very aware of how we're using it. And I think it will become a little bit like drinking in the future.
Thank you for not making your prediction about the World Cup.
Okay. Can I have a second prediction?
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
In my heart, it's 60 years since England won the World Cup. So in my heart, England will win the FIFA World Cup. But I know, truly, is that even possible?
Hey,
I don't
I've
know.
seen the Red Sox, reverse the curse. I've seen so many different things happen.
It's
Look at what's
time.
happening with the Knicks. It'll probably be done by the time people hear this, but look at what's happening with the Knicks. Anyway, Femi Oke, journalist and broadcaster, runner of Moderate the Panel. Femi, thank you so much. It's so great to see you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
And this podcast was produced by Harrison Patino. Our next episode is coming into your feed in just a few days. We're going to be talking about the challenges facing teachers in 2026. Subscribe so you don't miss that. I'm Jeremy Hobson. I will talk to you soon.